All right, everybody, something weird's happening right now. I have a friend, Clint, on the other side of this that is also a Packers fan. So we are traveling behind enemy lines across Lake Michigan, a little bit north to the frozen tundra that is Green Bay. And let's just be honest. We're, as Lions fans, usually pretty jealous of the Green Bay Packer organization. It's not fun watching you guys be incredibly successful every year. So when you are, what's your record right now? Is it 3-5? Is that the record?
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
don't worry about it, right?
No.
It gives us some pleasure. The problem is we're 1-6. So we just want to talk a little bit to you about what we can expect from Green Bay going forward. But first, let me introduce this guy. He is, of all the Packer fans I know, which is at least 6, he is definitely the second smartest of them all. And so, I mean, I think that's a pretty good introduction. I think it makes you qualified for this show. But
I,
truly, we love talking sports outside of this channel. So, Clint, thank you so much for being here. And I think my first question for you is, do you actually enjoy having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback?
so someone smarter than me said frustration is born out of unmet expectations. And
Absolutely.
since 2010,
Mm,
every year a Packers fan wakes up and they go, "Hey, this we have a reasonable expectation to win a Super Bowl."
absolutely. I agree.
And they don't. And he's an MVP and he's the weirdest dude there is.
He is weird.
He
He's
if
weird.
I He's very smart. His brain is his best asset, but
Yeah.
he
It's
is
also his greatest
frustrating.
enemy. I'm just
Yes.
gonna say it. So,
He,
but I don't think what's going on in Green Bay right now is Aaron Rodgers' fault. So why don't you tell me a little bit of I first want to know the Lions are 1-6. We are struggling. I usually like to say we'll get you right. And to the Packers fans that I've talked to, I've said it to you this week. Like, we'll get you right. Our secondary is rough. We just fired our DB coach. I don't know what that's going to do for us this week with Aaron Rodgers coming up. Why is Green Bay struggling this year?
I think it's a lack of identity.
Okay.
Um, I think that they went into this season thinking we're going to be very good defensively. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to throw when necessary.
Okay.
They changed defensive coordinators. They have not been as good defensively. They have not meshed. The young receivers have not. They haven't played very well,
They haven't
and
developed, right?
no, they
I
haven't
mean, yeah.
developed, and they haven't won the close games like they did last year.
Yeah.
They they lost a game they should have won in London. They got beat
Yeah.
by the Jets. They got beat by a backup in Washington, and I know Washington's 4-4, but those are games that if you're a Super Bowl contender, you should win,
Yeah.
and they're not. They can't
I know.
score 20 points. It's been, and really, I think the biggest disappointment is they have not been. This is just the eye test, but they seem to be losing the line of scrimmage on
Okay.
both sides, except for the second half Sunday night. They really have been beat up on the line, and I think
Okay.
it's just bled into the close games, and then they lose those close games.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as if you're losing in the trenches, you're naturally, especially on the defensive end, you're gonna get tired throughout the
Yeah,
game if you're getting gashed or if you're getting beat, and you can't get off the field. And honestly, for the first time in 30 years, the Packers are having a situation where quite frankly, their defense is on the field a lot.
yeah,
And I don't think
yeah.
the defense is used to that. But I wouldn't say your defense has been bad. Maybe not up to par for what you say. But you say they don't have an identity, and we can kind of combine identity with strength, but they have to have a strong suit on their team. I
Well,
mean, they
I
have
think
won 3
yeah,
games. They've had a lot of close games. Where do they excel?
I think I think I think if they are going to be their best, they need to be running the football
Okay.
just like they did Sunday night. They need to be a run first team. Arguably, I think the two backs they have could be the best duo.
Okay.
I think when they are running the football well, they are a different team.
Yeah.
They
So I don't
they
watch Green Bay as much as you do, but is Aaron Jones clearly better than AJ Dillon this year?
he's I think Aaron Jones is special. He
Yeah,
is
he
he is
is.
He is very special. I think
Yeah.
he's faster. He's not as powerful, but I think he's
Hmm.
faster. I think instinctually he's he's a little bit better. But Dylan has great hands. He can catch the ball.
Hmm.
He can get you a tough yard.
Yeah.
It's a great changeup. I'd love to see them on the field together more.
Yeah.
I think their drive in the second half. I think that was Matt LaFleur's best drive, maybe of his career. I
Best
think
play
he called.
calling.
Yes, I think he
Yeah.
put it together, and it was encouraging to see them come out and play Packers football.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you have to be so used to, as a Packers fan, just seeing a prolific offense, or at
Mm-hmm.
least an offense that you have a confidence can go out and get you 7 points, three
Mm-hmm.
points when you need it. And that's been Packers forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said to me once, and this I thought was very interesting, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you said to me you hate the Lions more than the Bears.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please explain that to me, because the Monsters of the Midway, that's supposed to be your biggest rival. But here you are, the Cardiac Cats, the Detroit Lions, and you hate us? Why
Yes.
is this?
Well, because the Lions are the team that will trade in the division at the trade deadline.
That's a question for later,
The
Clint.
okay.
Like, what are we doing?
The
Like,
okay,
I was gonna ask that later. Get that out of here. You
all
said
right.
this way before we traded Hawkinson to
Okay.
the Vikings. We will talk
I
about
did.
that later,
I
though.
did. The the Bears, let's be honest. The Bears haven't scared the Packers in, I don't know. I mean, since we were in high school. I mean, the
Since
Bears,
'85.
right? The Bears were
They
just
had one good year in the early
they
2000s.
they
Yeah.
did with Grossman, and they lost the Super
Yes.
Bowl. But
Grossman.
really,
Orton. What a quarterback. Orton.
sexy Rexy. But
Rex
but
Grossman.
but really, they haven't been any good. They
Yeah.
and the Lions, I don't know. I think it's more being in West Michigan, being surrounded by obnoxious Lions fans. It just sort
Thank
of,
you.
you know,
Appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not that you hate the Lions more, it's that you hate having to hear them after a W. And quite frankly, we've beaten you more in the last 5 years than the
That's
Bears have. Because I don't know if the
exactly
Bears have beaten you in the last 5 years.
not really.
No.
And the Lions seem to every year just like get the Packers at least once. It's just
Yeah.
it's usually just something, and they
Mhm.
annoy me. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Great. I'm so happy to play that for you. I love being the gnat, the
Can I
thorn in your side.
can I share my very favorite Packers Lions memory?
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to allow you to do that, even though I have a feeling the most listeners won't enjoy it. Please go for your
No,
favorite memory.
no, just it's the most Lions thing that I can think of. It was the game, a number of years ago,
Hmm.
night game, and all I remember is Detroit time leading in the game. They led the entire game. I think
Yes.
you know where I'm going.
Hmm.
And Aaron Rodgers rolls out, ends up rolling to his right, and he throws a Hail Mary to
Was
Richard
this the
Rodgers.
Rogers to Rogers
Yes, it's the
Hail
Rodgers
Mary?
to Rodgers.
Yeah.
And the
Come
best
on.
stat line at the end was the Packers won the game and time leading was 0. It was
Zero.
triple zeros. They didn't lead for 1 second the whole game, and they won. And to me, that was the most Detroit Lions moment. I I love
Oh,
it, and I
man.
will
And
send you. I have a
everybody stopped watching the video, but thank you so much.
Oh, well, I have a video I will send you offline of a friend of mine that was in the stands behind the end zone, and he has it all on. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I really want to see that. Thank you. So I want to relive that over and over again. That sounds so great. I'd rather think about the last game the Lions and Packers played against each other, where the Lions won, even if Aaron Rodgers didn't play in the second half. So
Yeah.
that's water under the bridge. I need to ask you real quick, what are your feelings? Because Detroit Lions fans are making this really big deal of the Hawkinson trade.
Hmm.
And when I'm done talking with you, I'm making another video about why we need to stop making such a big deal about this. We're complaining and all that kind of stuff. How do you feel as a Packers fan? Do you feel like we did well in that trade? And by the way, we gave up Hawkinson, a fourth and a fifth. a conditional fourth. If the Vikings win a playoff game, that fifth turns to a fourth for a second and third. Do you think that trade was good? And how do you feel about us trading them to a division leading Vikings team?
Yeah, well, I think Packers fans are irritated, but I think
Yeah.
the NFC is irritated. I mean, you just gave an asset to the team that has the second
Yeah.
best record in the conference.
Yeah.
Um,
Weak
if
conference too.
if I'm Detroit, I get it. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. Um, I it felt a little early. There was a lot of optimism in Detroit this year. Um,
Hey, trade
but
deadline, baby. You got
yeah,
to do it.
yeah. It so I
Better
get
than
it.
playing him more, getting him hurt, trading him in the offseason. I think the other thing too is we had to trade him. I want to say it was by March. Otherwise, we owed the
Right,
almost 10 million.
right.
So like I get that.
I mean, I get the math. I get the math on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what message it sends to your team.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Play better
but
because you were losing. So now we have to kick it in. What
you know,
what what the message it sends to the team is we're playing for our franchise quarterback. We're playing to
yes,
draft our next quarterback is the message
yes,
that I think it sends to the team.
a- ab-
I just wanted to know
absolutely.
if you were as annoyed as Lions fans that we traded within the division.
It yes, but if I'm a Lions fan, I'm not expecting to win this year. So I'm thinking, okay,
Mhm.
I'm getting as much as I can in the way of assets. I'm surprised there wasn't another team in the league that wanted to make that trade.
I know.
Uh, so that was a little
Maybe
surprising.
this is the only deal we could have gotten a second round pick. I don't know. And I think second round's pretty good. But for a guy that we weren't willing to hand him a bag, we weren't going to
No,
give him 13, 14. And conversations in the background were we've talked to his agent. We knew the number. We weren't willing to do it. So I don't want to pay. I would rather trade TJ Hawkinson for a second and a third,
yeah.
give up a couple of fifths or fourths, and not have to pay him 14 million. And I'd
Well,
rather actually get something for him than just let him walk, which is what the Lions of the old would do.
right, and I mean, a man that wears his hair like that, he was never going to be that successful. I mean, really, like,
Well, sunshine. Remember the Titans. Um, these things happen, but a man who wears his hair like that does tend to get injured often. And we
he
did see
does,
that with
he
TJ
does.
Hawkinson. He was often injured, and I don't think that he's going to. Anyways, all right, enough about TJ Hawkinson. That's fine. I do want to ask you this from the outside looking in. We're behind enemy lines. I want to get this. People care about the Lions more than the
Mhm.
Packers on this show. So
Yep.
sorry.
Nope.
Um, you've seen what the Lions have done. You've lived in West Michigan, so you've been around Lions fan. Do you think that this Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell regime is same old Lions? We're going to be fired in 3 years, or do you think there might actually be something here? There's just not enough talent. Like where are you at with the future of the franchise?
So I I think more times than not, the rah rah type coach is not successful in the NFL.
True.
I think, you know, you think of coaches that have won Super Bowls. By and large, it's the experience,
Parcells,
right,
Belichick.
the
Mhm.
calming, the think the John Harbaughs, the Andy Reeds, the guys that
Mhm.
they run an
Oh, the Mike
organization.
McCarthy's?
No, no, let's Aaron Rodgers. Mike
Sorry.
McCarthy should be sending Aaron Rodgers Christmas cards for the next 2,000 years because
So,
he is. Nah, don't get me started. Anyway, if I'm Detroit, if I'm the brass,
mhm.
I back the truck up and I say, Sean Payton, come. You want to coach? You want to be president of
Mhm.
operations? You want to be GM? You done. How much money do you want? And I try to get
We
an
got the number one pick. What quarterback do you want?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I get an established, proven veteran coach who knows what he's doing,
Mhm.
and that's where I would go. But I'm
Yeah, but
confident the
Dan
Lions
Campbell learned
won't.
under Sean Payton.
Well, it's not working.
No,
Some
not
guys,
yet. Here's the thing, and I will say this too. The cupboard was bare last year. I think he did a fabulous coaching job just to get to 3 wins. This year, they've underperformed.
right?
I can honestly say that, especially on the defensive end. Okay, so I don't have a ton more for you. I do appreciate you coming on, and it's good to hear from the outside. It's like, yeah, it's been a year and a half, and you're like, no, no, new coach, new coach. It's already time, but I don't know if we're there yet. I do know that as confidence level goes, I have more confidence in Brett Holmes, the GM, than I do in Dan Campbell, the coach, right now.
Hmm.
And that's just because within the first year and a half of coaching, he has fired the offensive coordinator he hired, and he's now fired a DB coach.
Yeah.
And this was the same DB coach that in the offseason last year, we were worried that Glenn was going to get a head coach job and Pleasant was going to get a defensive coordinator job. And he's like, we just can't lose both of them. We need one, because he was the guy that was going to take DC if Glenn got a head coaching job. And now he's fired. And so maybe to me, it's like maybe just hold up a little bit because you just fired a guy that has a bunch of or a lack of talent in the secondary.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're underperforming because there's not enough talent. That's all I'm saying.
I
So, but hey, final time predictions, Packers or Lions, who you got? Do you got a score for me? I didn't tell you that I was doing this, so good luck.
no,
And who's going to
no.
win it?
So I think it will be a field goal game. I think it will come.
Field goal game.
I think it will be close. I think it'll be. I'm gonna say 24-21 Green Bay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for keeping it close. I think Green Bay wins by 14. I really
Really?
do. And I
Really?
do. Yeah, I
Have you
think with
watched them?
everything, have you watched us?
Yes. At least you score points, except when you go to New England. But
Here's the thing, and here's the stuff that happened. We have, and I always predict close games when I do predictions here. Um, and this is the first time that I've predicted the Lions to lose by more than like 3 to 7 points. And I think the reason for it is I know what Aaron Rodgers does to us, especially in Ford Field. He oddly plays better against us when he's in Ford Field, probably indoor, good climate, all that kind of stuff. Here's the other thing I know: Jared Goff was visibly angry when we traded Hawkinson because he knew what it meant. It meant,
I mean,
dude,
he's
we're
gone.
taking away
Yep.
another
Yep.
one of your weapons. We know you're not the guy. We're stocking up picks just in case we need to trade up to get a quarterback. You're not going to be the guy next year. So he's visibly upset. And we know that Goff is a guy that needs to have everything around him perfect in order to be successful, which, by the way, isn't a formula for success in the NFL. And as bad as your receivers might be, our defense has stopped no one. No one. So I feel like I don't think a 31-17 game is out of the question here.
Can I ask you a Lions question?
Yes, go for it.
If you're Detroit, you've got these picks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you unload Goff's contract, and do you try to find a Tyler Huntley type guy, or do you try to draft a quarterback?
No, you draft a quarterback. I think, and here's the reason for it. How often, and I'm not saying we will, we're 1-6. Who knows? We could go on a tear and win 6 or 7 games because that would be perfect. But we we we're gonna probably have a top 5 pick, maybe even
Yeah.
top 3. Right now, we'd have the number 1 pick. So I think, how often do you get to have that as your number 1 pick? We had a number 1 pick with Stafford. We had Hutchinson, who was number 2, Okuda 3. And other than that, we don't pick in the top 5. We usually don't. We're just good enough to be in that 10, 8 to 15 range. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you have the ability, if your quarterback, if that's your guy, if Bryce Young is your guy, right? If CJ Stroud is your guy and you are confident that he's a franchise quarterback, doesn't matter. You get him. You just get
Right.
him. And I don't think it makes sense to go around. I don't think the roster is talented enough. And I understand we have right now 5 picks in the top 65, but I don't think the roster is necessarily talented to go pick, get a Tyrod Taylor, or something like that, and then win with him. I don't think that's that big of an upgrade over Jared
So you're
Goff.
saying you got to get the rookie, have the rookie deal, have the
Mhm.
money to go to pay to surround him with some
Exactly. And
dudes.
we will, because this is the year you can get out of Goff's contract.
Yep.
We will have 60 million plus in cap space.
Yeah.
Hawkinson's 9.5 million off the books really helped.
Yeah.
And you know it as well as I do. There's a 5-year window
Yes.
where you have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, and then you're in trouble. And it's really
Yes.
hard to win a Super Bowl. And you've seen that in Green Bay over the
Yeah.
last decade. It's hard to
Yeah.
win when you're paying a guy a lot of money,
Well,
because
it's
it's the way
also
it
hard to
goes.
win when you get to the NFC Championship game and then play
The
terribly.
49ers are there.
Well, or you forget that you're in a man coverage and you take a zone drop against Tom Brady at right before halftime the year before,
Yeah.
and you
Mhm.
let Scotty Miller run past you.
How
Not
many,
that.
can I just ask a question? How
Mhm.
many points did the Packers score against the San Francisco 49ers behind MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers at home?
Not enough to win.
Was it 7, 10, 10?
It was. I know that they started the game with a touchdown, and I'm like, well, what is
And
this?
that was
What
it.
is this? And that was it. I saw that game started, and Garoppolo I mean, he's throwing the football around. They're
Yep.
laughing.
Yeah.
Kittle's laughing, and I looked at my wife and I went, they're in trouble.
We're
Like
in trouble.
they're
Like, they
it's
knew something.
yes,
They knew
and
something. There's a
yeah,
good coach right there. If the if
yeah,
the 49ers go to crap, go after Shanahan. Anyways,
yeah,
yeah, all right. Hey, Clint, thanks so much for joining me, man. Appreciate you taking the time, and
yep.
maybe we'll have to do it in the final week of the NFL season as well.
That'd be fun.
But thanks for hanging, man.
Hey, take care, buddy.
See ya.